identity hearing. Because, I needed to establish that I'm not the minor state, not Austin C. And so, I did looking for an identity hearing.
Yes.
You
You want to play this again?
Yeah, the warrants failed to have court seal on them, which means they're not authentic, as required by the authentication. So you're lawful arrest and everything that precipitated better every time.
Okay, so this is a micro. Okay.
And look, it's not order there.
Yeah.
They.
Let me get that for you. Okay.
Yeah.
And please, show me. So I'll be over here, Jeff. All right, let's see.
That's. They are four, did they go? Apple, you're all right, they would just rouse. So. Yeah, you know, where it was like Rob Charles, Brendan, the people, it was like 10 or for what? 10, but it was probably 5 people and the rest of them were on it.
Number two.
So they
Where is that actually going to?
It says input.
They arrested them all.
Input.
Yeah, I mean, this one right here.
People, they
This one right here.
They dismissed.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's actually on counter side. That's right. Yeah, okay, I see the difference there.
Different. Okay.
Call Jason, see where Jason. He's not, he's been
Anywhere.
where we're long as.
They arrested all the people. And they since all. Yeah. So they were gone. Huh? They were gone. No, I know. Well, they were arrested. Now they're through the. I just filed a work blank for the federal court. And it was into an old case. And the last time I did that, the judge sent me back an order of deficiency, told me I had to file a lawsuit with me. So I'm waiting for the order to file.
When I heard it, but it's just like it's not that way.
Well, and on top of that.
Jason, Steve's not here today.
With
Come on over. Steve's not here.
The legislature was very on purpose. On the warrants, they have to do it within 3 days when it's issued. And on purpose, because they didn't want, they wanted to make sure that they executed. Right, and so they searched his place. So then, if you think about what they did is activated the work history. They broke into his house and they stealed about $200,000 stuff out of it. And so I don't care what your political. This is coming up in the lawsuit, but that's telling them that they're gonna make us rich.
Did you send it to my Gmail account, the link?
That's the 81.
Yeah, okay. That is that. Yeah, I just don't see it in my Gmail account.
Steve and Steve's fiance were showing me how to. Wrong answer. Well, they knew it too. I went in there and they timestamped it. I walked outside and moved the timestamp. Yeah. And it was ledger around 3 days. They were held up. Liar. They, it's sucks. It says, look, you know.
Oh, I see it, is it just the case? I don't see it, the Brad Swain 81.
And they did today.
We can type it, we can send it, we'll do.
So they went and they were told, when they put the warrant, they said, this warrant's expired. Address. And they told Bedford police were there and they told the Bedford police to arrest it.
Okay.
The FBI agent.
It's good.
And they told the chief of police to Bedford, so they're obviously, see what I'm saying? So we'll see. I think we're gonna be able to break it on the ground. Hope you do. I think.
Okay, give me his email address.
This would be the best thing that's ever happened to me. I really had to feel it. And so far, and it's gonna be a fellow.
It's TM B.
I got right here, right? Juno.com.
Yep. I'll let them know it's coming out right now.
You know, we don't ask, oh, what?
Okay. It's it.
And they did it. And so I'm accused of further in New Mexico because I would write the resist unlawful arrest. And they actually had me down their systems on that. So I told them I want to see the warrant they refused to give it. They arrested me anyway. And there was.
They're supposed to watch it, get rid of anything until they got to choose them. Actually,
I don't know if they did. Maybe.
they probably didn't do it. But last year, that was more, it was here, you do the same thing with these homes. You get it there.
Maybe.
Which or anything like that.
Yeah, they go back there, you don't say that.
But hey, when this talk.
Yeah, I would go for you.
Oh, okay.
Well, so off a pitch.
I think you need more vitamin C.
Yeah, I do, but where the problem comes is what we do is we're off car. New Mexico State Police are in on it. How do you go out? How do you get away? Oh, we'll see.
I mean, it's-
So like, we're gonna break it up. We're gonna start around. And then what happens, they.
Everybody talks for their own press. Isn't that what you kind of think it is?
Well,
Somebody retains the information.
it's not that.
Is that what you think it is though?
No, they think that.
Bill, we're here to learn, but people just they don't ever get it though.
Yeah, I've got a couple of. Okay, well, I wanted to mention this, and I know, and I think. Thank you.
Yes.
I just had to go later, right? With one street over. What happened is, last time I went out and had a couple, I was at the attorney. That's what finds me. And I know things got organized. I've known him for like 30 years. So I went out against somebody.
Oh, he's gonna be on Zoom. He's got his area.
This is something different. And because when I got back to the hotel, they my prop show. And a small group and, yeah. And discussed and.
And then wait for he gets through, you can talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll do that.
But. They should ignore you. Don't say but to me. Okay, that's what. Asking. Filed my work on complaint yesterday. So they're probably gonna get it today. It always helps me. So, we'll see. But maybe the loss right. Yeah, I'm a mechanic. They're an attorney. I'll probably have an order. Last time I did that, by the third time I had an order since the court. I'm telling you, I was the only guy that left. Everybody else got stuck because they were, yes, sir. Hey, I didn't care. I don't know. Wait, what you're saying that? Well. I just filed a thing majig, but then you take them as a there. I said that up here. How do you talk right on? You have to go back there. I don't know. This dog doesn't understand it. I just feel it. Thing.
Body language.
I don't understand.
You bark, yeah.
Yeah, and you bark at it, but I can't answer it. That's probably I don't understand. See, that's not for me to do. Then tell me, sort of playing. That one, and he said, you're a very unique fellow. I said, well, I'm not homosexual. Thank you. I waived extradition. You went the oh. And I brought the warrant washer when he missed. Now that I think about it. As in, everything would have gone away at that point. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But, anyway, thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you too. I spent 43 days in jail.
Put it back on the Zoom.
Because it,
Okay, so go see.
So I'm figuring,
what's that?
That's still on the Zoom.
well, who knows?
Okay.
I'm figuring, some people say $75,000 a day you get.
Let me call him up, tell him about noon.
I was basically gonna tell the judge that I have no idea what this is worth, so I'll just accept whatever the court decides is appropriate. How much? So we'll see. That's what I've been thinking. No, you can tell the court. But it might be, it might, you know what, it might be surprised. Which they give. Yeah, well. What? There's a Rad versus Ocean City case where it was $10,000 a minute. And so there's a lot of different cases where it talks about a lot.
Not much, we're ready
That's
when
what
you
I'm
are.
gonna say,
Feel free
is
to
that
come
I
on.
have no idea what's reasonable under these circumstances, and so I'll just let the court decide.
Good for you.
And, but I'll bring up the Rad versus Ocean City, $10,000 a minute, and the Travaza versus.
Okay, very good, any problems, just let me know.
Sure, it probably will be.
All right, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well.
All you have to do is break it off one time. And hit that big, hit a big money, and they will forever be. Reason. Thank you. Oh, man. Yeah.
We don't serve breakfast on the weekdays, I'm so sorry about that. Yes, sir.
What comes close to that?
Let's get into that here, so we're there too. So where's there?
Right here.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we got it, yeah, we'll have it. Here,
You're okay.
Yeah.
Speakers today?
It's not.
I'm not.
Yeah, try that.
Who is?
Well,
It's gonna be great.
Dave,
I don't like it.
yeah,
Like they brought it to.
that's a lot of people.
I
in
don't
there.
even know, I'll tell you. I'm just here to change. I don't care. This, what he's talking about, it's not,
He knows about every kind of topic. I started naming things, he said, oh, I know all about that, you know. Bumble, forest, bonds,
right.
he knows how IRS.
All of that is, good to my heart, because
That's the only way we're gonna get her.
I don't care how tough our military is, I don't care how strong the, Congress is, but until we get our country back. So anyways, it's all in vain. There was people that are.
US corporations owned by this central bank.
That's right. There's at least two people that are the points out to all that once was expired.
It's the government.
And
Presidents
there,
are
and the cops refused to do anything about it.
That was solely keys there, we had play.
He's important. So what you have, as blue means green, he wants it to, today, tomorrow will be red. Whatever he wants to do is the law. And so what I have been doing that paper. It's, they let it go right away. Okay, tell me what you're saying. So they engaged in aggravated burglary. Now, what is it? Broke into a house, stole a bunch of property. Okay, how did I get here? I see, well, what do you mean? What I mean by what? How'd you get here? Well, I got in my Jeep. And I did the cower to the corner and turned left. Didn't have name badges on. Okay, to tell you how I know the name of one of them for sure. Didn't define. And they, that was notified. They're going, what do you mean? But jazz. I mean, right here. And now they're blocking. Back they knew they were gonna. And now they're blocking. I don't authorize, I think they will authorize everything, it's not correct, I correct it. He said, well, I keep saying that's true, but it's. We're not, this, I test, if I could test for good.
Yeah, they're pretty simple.
Okay, now here's the problem. A U is a lamb. I pick lamb, and then that's how I'm gonna hurt you. Yeah, I go off like every word on the page.
The U is over there. Snare.
Okay.
Breach.
Yeah, right. The thing about Bedford is that,
But you see, if you buy some, go ahead, pay Michael Ellis there, imagine and see.
well, not Michael Allen. They used to have a, you're kidding, cheap with police right
I'll
now.
be that. So,
I don't even know who started this. And
is there anybody else then I said to?
Like this.
I sent him one of my notices from the maps. Designed to take away their money. And then they violated my rights, and so then I sent them a massive graph. See, what has happened is, they haven't proceeded. I call it a master seat, okay, so that they can overrun us. When I send those out, I send one to the FBI, copies to the FBI and state police, everybody, really didn't read the manual. Anyway. It starts off as a right finger, that's wrong. Normally I say accept the road, Bob, but you and I both know that on the line, you're going, Bob, so fuck the road. Yes.
Civil procedure.
And if you or your pigs want to threaten me, just be on base time and location, I'll come on them homes out of it. You're saying bill and it's really $1. I know you're gonna see anything up on that, well, we had $1 bill. First thing you wanna do is make sure I'm unarmed, so I can't spend myself.
Hey, Mark, we sent you the Zoom link, please join.
Like 20 pages that I 8 minutes take on. Anyways. Donald Trump got a copy of it. Anyways. I never heard anything about it out here. Well, Sedford knew the guy that was the mayor. And they went on the lunch one, see. And, so, you know, the mayor pulled up. See, Texas, I was on law enforcement, if I raided Bedford Police Department, one attorney said, fired everybody in hell. I said, Sedford, I not fell. And, as they didn't use their own jail. See, I got all strikes every. Derek.
Yeah.
When did the Bedford Police Department get raided?
Seems like it's been probably about 4 years ago.
Probably, yeah. They got raided.
Yeah. Raided. I think it was Texas Rangers.
Well, they raised them for 5 years.
Oh,
During the
corruption. Corruption. Right.
Oh, that's good.
Why that? You know about that?
Oh, could have been. That's why I sent.
Yeah.
Trump's on top of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got rid of everybody but 2 people.
They were raided by the FBI or whoever, but they're corrupt.
Right.
So that doesn't solve anything. Anyway, well, that's the problem I'm having with the VA.
So anyway.
Well,
What happens when corrupt arrests corrupt?
Like, yeah, Bedford.
What happens if they're all corrupt?
Well,
They still do a little bit.
what helps me, so I've lost rights. Excuse, what are you saying to me? I don't understand. Tell me any part of mechanics, rights, it is, or I actually talk to you. Like I said, we're not here, we're joining, that's where this is, today, right? Can I go in? Well, no, that's not what we're saying. It's exactly what you said. Well, you're not saying, that's what you said. And it's, and lives. When I was young, that short, you know, you're a very unique fellow. I said, no, it's not amazing. 37. And they flew you in when you go to 33 or. Yeah, I don't know the whole story on that, but.
Steve will wait for him to come online.
Our friendship.
Zoom is up, but he ain't come online.
But he was probably.
Here, Dave calling now. Bye.
He was, you know, telling me who's the look at
Hello, Dave.
Old Street, Lexington. And he's telling me, you know, this person is the head.
Yeah, I'll do it right now. All right, thank you. Goodbye. Did we sit to him? They lost chairs as table.
You got them now, it's too late, it's all area. So. Well, I worked for What market, Toronto for about, who, what market?
It's just
They build. Yeah.
T. Roberts.
I'm saying, I worked with them in Toronto
Yeah.
about a year ago. There's actually a group company where it's called Party, and it's also the Short Brothers. The Party,
It's N like Nancy.
well, Short Brothers. So I was working for Bombardier in Toronto. And there was I was working on the Global Express program. It was a executive jet. Anyway, so what happened is, the guys that I was working with, there was a bunch of from Shore Brothers and that's another mine.
So I did send it to
It's
him.
NMT Roberts.
Okay, just a sec.
And, they would talk, you hear talking about it.
Okay.
And, one day they said, oh yeah, he's Catholic.
Yeah, NMT Roberts.
You want
One at
okay,
Gmail.
so N and then M.
Yeah, look, I got it right here.
Okay, can you send it to him again?
Yep.
You have number one.
Yep, I do. Okay, just got sent again.
Oh, that, the orange was
Is it, and
basically.
it's at gmail.com.
Yep.
I'll call back if he has it.
Orange were people that were supporters of Prince William of Orange. Prince William, Prince, it was, what happened is.
He's connecting.
that Holland, William of Orange or Prince Philip or something like that. Or
Hey,
Orange.
Dave, can you hear us? Dave, can you hear us?
Wait back.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. Well, thanks for coming and talking to us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now, one thing
I
you-
found the link, but it was under a different name.
Okay.
So
So
who's
we're
all here?
well, we have about 7 people here, and there's people on Zoom. So one thing we talked about the other day was we'd like to talk about the common law court. We had a situation where we had several people that were on a jury that got arrested doing a common law jury by the state. And we might want to talk about things we can do there. And then, of course, we like to talk about bonds. And we're pretty open. We're all ears, really, to kind of listen to what you want to talk about. But, you know, on the common law, we're trying to get remedy right now. And if you have some suggestions on what we can do to try to get recovery on the false arrest. All the jurors that were arrested, everybody got dismissed. So everybody is clear of any kind of record right now. So
Okay, so what was the charge to arrest them? What did they allegedly bring forth?
it was organized criminal activity and obstruction or retaliation. And then one of the gentlemen, he got charged terrorism.
So what I heard
Okay,
was
all right.
that.
Are you guys a lawful committee of safety yet, or have you done anything in that manner?
What was that again?
Have you guys established or created a committee of safety for
No, we
your
haven't.
community? Okay. I would suggest that'd be the first thing that you guys would do is to establish a committee of safety and give public notice of the fact that you are a committee of safety under the laws of the Constitution. And in the process of setting up your committee of safety, one of the things that you're going to do is create a bilateral social compact. And with the bilateral social compact, and I have all this information, I can share it with you. You become the bilateral social compact under the law of nations becomes a firewall in separation of the surety and you, the man. You, the man, the creation of God. Okay. And what they charged you with and why they charged you with what they did is that they are in the public safety of protecting their people. Well, let me rephrase that. They're in the public safety of protecting their persons. And unless you make a declaration, they see you all as persons and you are violating the law under the enemy, it's the Enemy Act. God. Anyhow, it's was passed in 1838 or 1938. Man, titles escaped me. Anyhow, they made you all enemies of the state, and you became sureties, which you guys are all well aware of this, the all cap name, all that stuff. And when you tried to do a common law grand jury, you that they saw that as sedition in their private corporation. Okay. And you're all members of their private corporation because, like, I can take a survey here right now. I see 3 or 4 of you in the one picture here. How many, by show of hands, how many are U.S. citizens?
Really, Bill? You are?
U.S. citizen?
Yeah. We got one.
Okay, well, that's much better than usual. Usually I get the majority of the crowd put their hand up. None of you are U.S. citizens. None. Unless you are working for the federal government, you are born in Washington, D.C., or you live in Washington, D.C. If you don't fall under any of that criteria, none of you are U.S. citizens. So therefore, they have no jurisdictional authority over you. Jurisdiction's everything. But you have to make a declaration of separation from the all cap name, and how you do that is with a bilateral social compact. And anyone and everyone that signs the bilateral social compact is a creation of God, the creator. And you're not a piece of paper, which is how they're acting. And they cannot move against you because you're protected under the 7th Amendment as a common law grand jury.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions, anybody?
Yes. But they still will move against you anyway. What we're
They
talking
will
about.
not. They will not. You guys don't understand. You have unalienable rights. And once those unalienable rights are expressed, they will back off. Especially now, their world's getting ready to flip on them. They know it. They know their days are numbered, literally numbered. They got like 9 days.
They're a bunch of pirates.
Why do you say 9 days?
Because the corporation's fiscal year ends on the 31st of October, and the new QFS, the new Nasara, Jasara, that all goes into effect. And all that starts.
I don't believe that one is it.
And that's very good. You have the right to do that. Yeah, guy with the hand up, go ahead.
What you're talking about, we're not U.S. citizens, is the ideal situation that's creating our problem that we have right now everywhere. Why this country is falling apart.
The country's not falling apart. That's a misnomer.
Its credibility is not there. There is no credibility. Nobody believes what's being said anyway.
The end of the tunnel.
Well, that's a matter of faith,
No.
and it's a matter of belief in your God. And that's each person, finds where they are. I have this conversation with people all over the United States, and it all comes down to faith. What do you want? What do you believe in? And what is the faith of yourself? Okay. Because the changes are happening. The world is changing. We are going to a new place in the universe. And all this corruption, all this evil is being devoured. It's being done away with.
Amen.
And we're having victories in common law in their court right now. We had a man last week that was in a jury trial, not a trial by jury, but a jury trial, which was rigged by the prosecutor and the judge, and he was acquitted, and his whole presentation was based in common law. And the jury acquitted him. A panel of 12 found him not guilty. So it's happening. And this was up in Iowa.
Sounds like you are talking about credibility. Why do you say that credibility is not the problem?
Whose credibility?
The credibility of anybody, of the masses. Everybody.
Okay, you don't understand your position. You are born on the land. Were you not born in Texas or whatever state you were born in? Were you not born on the land?
I say so.
No. Your parents, where was your parents? Were they around? Did they tell you?
Well, I had no idea.
Well,
Nobody knows.
he didn't understand. We'll explain to him later that U.S. citizen has to reside in Washington, D.C., Guam, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, federal employee or state. But we'll move on. I'll explain to you that later on.
Yeah, no problem. So go ahead.
So let's move on to something else. So you think things will October 31st?
Your first point of attack in this whole entire situation is to create a committee of safety, which is under the First Amendment, the right to assemble and to lawfully assemble. And then you make a public notice to the community that you exist. And once that's done, and that process is done, then you create your bylaws, and then you create your bilateral social compact. And with that bilateral social compact, that provides your firewall to prevent them from attacking you as a man. Okay, it states there in the codes and statutes that I think it's 5 USC 3000 something that you're born on the land. They already know that. They already know that you're born on the land. Here's the other point. In the Bible, it says that in Genesis, that God created the universe, and then God created earth, and then he created everything on the earth, above the earth, and in the earth. And then he created man. Then he gave man domicile over earth. Now, when he did that, does man have any power or rights over God?
No.
Why?
Creator. He's the
That's
creator.
correct. He's the creator. All right. Very important point that you guys get this. All right. So now man has dominion over earth. So if man has dominion over earth and he creates institutions, he creates government, he creates law societies, he creates educational societies, agricultural societies, etc., etc. Upon that creation, does that give them dominion over him, over man?
No.
That's right. The answer is no, because man is the creator, and the createe does not have any power over man. So how does the legal system get jurisdictional authority over you?
You give it
Because
to
you're
them.
a man.
Ignorance.
That's right. Ignorance, voluntary compliance. When you stand in law as a man, they have no authority. Okay? And as a committee of safety, you are a group of men and women coming together in under the law, under first of all the law of the Bible, second under the law of the Constitution, which, by the way, under Article 6, Clause 2, states that it is the supreme law of the land. It also states that every public servant is to have an oath of office. And if they do not have an oath of office, they're in violation of the law. Why are they in violation of the law? Because they are impersonating a public official. So every act that they act under, every edict that they try to enforce, that is criminal. Because they have no authority to act.
Have you had any success trying to enforce that with, for example, a judge that didn't have a current oath of office? Have you had any
Yeah.
success?
Yeah, but you can't do it directly. You got to okay, do you guys understand administrative process?
I do.
It's a 3-step process. And you give notice, then you give notice, and then you put them in dishonor. Once you have them in dishonor, you are now eligible to make a claim for the harm and trespass placed against you. And once you put the judge into dishonor, he no longer has immunity because he created a harm. And in an administrative process, what is the vehicle that you utilize? Called an affidavit or a declaration or an affirmation. And once they fail to rebut your affirmation or your affidavit, they fail to abut, you put a clause in it in the notice. And in common law, you always use notices. You don't do motions or any of that crap. You give them notice that they had 21 days to rebut, or they enter into a tacit agreement of acceptance, which then makes that notice law. Makes it law. That becomes law. That becomes your law. And now it's enforceable. Now you can go to the sheriff and present your claim, because now you have a claim, and you present your claim to the sheriff to act. If he fails to act or refuses to act, then he becomes a party to it. And now you reach out to the federal district attorney, the U.S. Marshals, the judge aggravate of the National Guard of your state, Pan Bondi, Turner, or Trump. I'm sorry, Trump and Cash Patel and etc. There's a whole list of public officials in the federal level that you can give notice to. You can also file a claim in administrative court. Yeah, every state has an administrative court. That's to bring public officials before, but judges are excluded from administrative court.
But everybody else can be presented.
Yeah. County commissioners, prosecutors, they can all be brought forth. Something else, you can list a bill of particulars in your affidavit stating you want their oaths of office, their current oath of office, They're fidelity bonds, which they don't have. Most of them don't even have bonds. And if you're going into a court, you can ask for their declaration of authority, which they have to have by the Secretary of State in order to bring the claim against the all cap name. And the reason they don't do that is because they don't want to pay the income tax on the court case. So your arrest, all those arrests were, that was just strictly intimidation to have you guys stop doing a common law grand jury. Now, where they get their authority at on that is called the Buck Act, which is 1946. And what gave the Buck Act authority is the rules the Rules Enabling Act of 1934. Now, there's a gentleman out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. His name is Peacemaker Aldo. He's running for sheriff there in Virginia Beach. And he's starting a process, and he's having a lot of momentum, called a Grand Jury Oversight Committee. And you only need 12 people to get it started in your county. And he has all the paperwork on his website, which is grand jury.
The crap that's been going on lately and what we can do about it. I don't know.
Over talk. Dave, can you repeat that website?
Yeah. Can you mute him? All right. The website is grand jury. No, it's restore the grand jury something.com. There's one more word. I always forget that other word.
Let me.
Hang on a second. I'll go back to my notes.
.com.
Yeah. Restore the grand jury's rights.com. Restore grand jury rights.com .org. I'm sorry, it's org. So what this does, as you petition the prosecutor, which he's not gonna be cooperative, he's not gonna want it, but there's nothing he can do about it. And you give him notice, the prosecutor, that when he convenes a grand jury, which is usually twice a month, you want to be there. The 12 of you want to be there, and you're just observing. Okay. And then you're filing notices with the federal district attorney on the procedure of the prosecutor. And a lot of prosecutors, which you'll find, is okay, let me ask you a couple questions first, see where you guys are at. How many people are required to be in a grand jury?
For a common law grand jury?
A grand jury of any kind.
What? I think it's actually 16.
No. Okay. Under the Magna Carta, under Article 61, it says you have to have 25 people. Now, you can go all the way down to a petite grand jury, which is 13, but no less than 13.
Right. Yeah. And you have one on the other one's the standby, basically, to get your 12 jurors.
You need 2 alternates.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, grand jury is not the same as a petit grand jury. A petit grand jury is what you're all familiar with, which is a panel of 12.
Right.
That's where you have the defendant present, and you have the plaintiff present, and you have the judge sitting on the bench, and the court recorder, and all of that. And they Each side presents their case. That's a pettit grand jury. That's not a grand jury. A grand jury is made up of 25 people, and the moving party that's bringing the complaint actually should be a claim that brings forth a claim under an affidavit sworn under the penalties of perjury. That's his skin in the game, is sworn under a penalty of perjury. And if there is no man or woman bringing forth the claim, there is no claim. Because when the state brings a claim, what is the state?
Fiction.
Right. And what is the fiction? It's what? Well, how's the fiction represented?
By an attorney, because attorneys represent fiction.
No, that's the mechanism. The fiction is created on a piece of paper. Right? So how do you harm a piece of paper?
You can't.
You can't. So here's the next question. If the attorney, a prosecutor, is representing the paper, does that prosecutor have firsthand knowledge of the events that took place?
No.
Then how can he provide testimony?
That's correct. He can't.
That's hearsay. That's hearsay. And he is committing fraud upon the court. And you can challenge him on that fraud. Okay. So if you're in an oversight committee and you're sitting there observing, and he assembles a grand jury of 5 people, that's a fraud. And then if he presents evidence to the grand jury of 5 and he doesn't step out of the room for them to deliberate on whether the evidence is valid or invalid, or conduct an investigation, that's another fraud. Because the grand jury is supposed to be totally, completely separate and isolated from the court system. That's why we have it. So the court cannot prevail or overshadow the people. That's why it's supposed to be, in a pettit jury, it's supposed to be 25 members of your peers, people that either know you or know of you. It can't be somebody randomly from the community that has no knowledge of who you are.
Right. And no U.S. citizens.
Right. And no U.S. citizens. Matter of fact, if you happen to be in a trial where you're being tried, and you ask for a trial by jury, which right now they won't give you in their fake administrative court, and they will give you a trial, then the first question you asked in the seating of the jury is how many. I need to show of hands of how many people here are U.S. citizens. And everybody that raises their hand say, okay, you're all disqualified because you're not my peers.
Wow, that's a good outage.
And if the judge doesn't allow it, then you file judicial charges against the judge for denial of your rights, your unalienable rights, in violation of the Bill of Rights. So with the oversight, all you're doing is looking over the prosecutor's shoulder while he's conducting a grand jury. Do you understand how powerful that is, just doing that?
Yeah, because they can't have the correct trial by jury. They can't bring forth the case. The state didn't have anybody they can get together.
First of all, if the prosecutor brings forth the case and it's for the state versus whoever they're bringing charges against, then you question the prosecutor. Where's the injured party? Where's the harm? Well, the state's been harmed. Well, the state can't be harmed. It's a piece of paper. Therefore, if there's no injured party, as stated in the Constitution, you have no claim. And if he doesn't comply, then you notify the Attorney General that he's committing treason upon the people. You guys understand that he's actually committing treason upon the Constitution, upon the Bill of Rights, which therefore is upon the people. It's not directly upon the people.
Right.
Okay. Any questions?
Let's go back to the part about the judge, where if he allows U.S. citizens to participate in the grand jury, you can do a judicial charge against the judge.
Yeah, he's in contempt of the law of the Constitution.
Do you ask the sheriff to get involved with the judge doing this?
You ask the bailiff, you say, you just witnessed a criminal act of treason by the judge. Are you going to arrest him? And he's going to sit there all confused. And you say, you understand, if you don't arrest him, you are party to the treason. And then you notify all the following people, including the Bar Association and the Supreme Court of your state, the Supreme Court of the federal government. You put them all on notice because they're supposed to be licensed. You understand, no one in the United States has a license issued by any state.
Correct.
No state government issues a bar license.
They keep claiming there's a license, but when you ask them for it, nobody has
They
it.
never show it. That's right.
The burden of proof is upon you to prove that you have a state license. Well, I have a bar card. Well, that's a union card. That's no different than a plumber, a turd chaser. And they'll admit, yeah, it's a gill. It's a bar gill. The British Accredited Registry gill. A gill is a union. So they have no more difference than the state license electrician, they license a plumber, the state does. The state issues license.
But a bar member is not really licensed. So
No, there never are. And think about that. Here you got a union member of the bar who has the right and the ability to go into every branch of government. Nobody in any other organization has that power. You understand how criminal that is?
it is.
Yes.
It's so outrageous that we let them get by with it, and they all protect each other. And for example, in Texas, we have the right to work state, and they're saying that you can't practice law unless you have this so-called license.
Okay, the burden of proof, once again, the burden of proof is to show you the law, because I can show you federal and state law that says that every man, first of all, if they prevent you from practicing in the court law to defend yourself or make a presentment, they have closed off the court and you no longer have a government. You have a controlled dictatorship, and we, the people, have lost the republic, and there is no representation because you have this controlled monopoly controlling the courts. That's criminal.
That's how you.
And there's all kinds of laws out there that if you're getting that argument, you got to have these laws ready to push back, including in the Constitution.
In the Constitution, it'd be freedom of speech, correct? You would use that one. Freedom of
You
speech.
you could use that, but there's others.
Okay.
I know a judge in Michigan, there's a man by His name is Rick Martin. He's a lawyer. And in 2021, I believe it was 2021, he was defending up in Michigan a woman who kept her restaurant open. And the Michigan Public Health came in and fined her and put her in jail. And he was representing her in court. And the judge asked him if he had a bar license. And he says, no, I have no need for one. And he presented the law. And the judge says, I want him remanded into custody. And they arrested him. 90 days later, the court system and the county ended up paying him $500,000 for misconduct.
Wow. I think he lives in Houston, doesn't he, Rick Martin?
He's from Texas originally, whether he lives there or not. I think right now he's living in Michigan.
Okay, I know a Rick Martin that got a $250,000 settlement for an overnight stay in jail, and he got a new Porsche that happened. A Rick Martin.
Yeah, it's probably the same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does this all the time. It's how he makes his living. He sues courts for misconduct, for misappropriation of behavior.
Right. But even their own penalty in Texas.
What's that?
Well, in Texas, if you look at the unauthorized practice of law, it only pertains to personal injury and property damage. Even their own penal code says that you can do everything but those two things.
Well, they really can't even bar you from that because you have the right to.
I don't recommend using the penal code, but even their own penal code says that you can help other people in court. You know, for example, there's people in jail that need help, you know, and they don't want to hire a state appointed attorney. So there's people that help other people all the time. They're in jail.
Well, you can be a friend. You can be a friend of the court, or you could be a attorney of fact, which is whichever. It's one and the same. That you have the right. See, in the Constitution, under I think Amendment 6, it says that you have the right to counsel. Yeah, and have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Doesn't say anything about a lawyer or an attorney. It says right to counsel. Anyone can be a counsel. Your best friend could be a counsel.
Exactly.
If you started.
So that's a misinterpretation of the verbiage in the Constitution.
Right.
Anybody have a question? They can be on Zoom. I don't care. Doesn't have to just be from the meeting room.
Jason, any questions about anything? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
So over the years and your experience with dealing with the individuals that are in the system that led you to come to all these conclusions, would you say that it's more often ignorance of the prosecutors and the judges about these lawful standings and these procedures that we're discussing here, or is it intentional malfeasance that leads them to act this way? I'm sorry?
It's intentional.
So
it's intentional malfeasance. Like I instruct my people when they go into court and they're asking for a trial by jury, the judge will say, well, you're going to get a jury trial. And they go, no, under the Constitution of the state and the federal government says, I have the right to a trial by jury. And that is what I want. And the judge, this is this question of trickery. What's the difference? Can you tell me what the difference is? This is how I tell them to respond. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I thought you were learned in law. Are you telling me you're ignorant of the law? You just put it right back on them. You don't.
Yeah, they're supposed to be the administrator. Let them be.
Huh?
I said, yeah, they're supposed to be the administrator, and they're there with a job to do to provide the services that they're required to, obliged to.
Bingo.
I see. Yeah, okay.
And
so don't do their job for them.
if a prosecutor stands up and he makes a false statement, you ask the judge, ignorance of the law is no excuse. You hold me to that. You're not going to hold the prosecutor to that? What the hell's going on here? Do we got an ex parte going on?
And so what instant, like, so any false statement that the prosecutor would make, which basically is every single thing that they say when the state is bringing suit against you for some statutory or nonsense violation, whatever it may be. All right. So then I guess I'm dealing with some stuff right now, but it's not criminal, it's civil side. And
right, but when you're in court and the prosecutor starts to speak to present the case, you object. And the judge has said, why are you objecting? I'm objecting to this man here, this prosecutor. Does he have firsthand knowledge of the events that took place? Because he's giving testimony. And if he's giving testimony, it's false because he doesn't have firsthand. So therefore, he's committing fraud upon this court. And if he continues, I want him arrested.
So is that even before everybody? I mean, but the prosecutor never has to be sworn in, right?
Well, that's another thing. You can demand that he be sworn in. The court will say, well, no, he's an officer of the court. He's already been sworn in. I don't know that. Can you produce the his oath?
Yeah, would that be the time then to ask the question about the superior oath? Because I mean, all those attorneys have to take a superior oath to the Bar Association. Is that correct?
It is, but they're not going to provide it. Okay.
Well, right, but then you could ask them what oath they're operating under that day. If they're an officer of the court, the judiciary, then they need to have an oath of office on file as required by the state constitution, right?
You can do that in your bill of particulars when you ask for discovery.
Okay.
And then they'll come back and say, we're not on trial. Say, well, I need to know who is presenting this false claim against I. Therefore,
why I and not me?
No, I. It's I. There's no me.
Why?
No you. There's no you, me. There's only I.
Why? I mean, I believe you, but I just
in common law, you are a man and you're represented by I, the little I, not the capital I.
Okay. Is that in like Bouvier's or something like that, or like where does that precedent come from?
I learned this through a guy in England that was teaching common law to I, which is your law.
Okay.
And you create your law. Okay. There's many forms of common law, but you don't want any law but your law. And your law is based on if you did not harm anyone and you did not trespass upon another person, you have the right to create your law. And when they violate your law, you have the right to press a claim for damages and harm brought upon you. And if the court cannot bring forth a man or woman of a harm, then they have trespassed upon your rights, your unalienable rights, and they have forfeited their immunity as a prosecutor, as a judge. And you go after them in their personal private capacity, not as a judge. You call him John Smith, who sometimes acts as a judge, has committed this crime against me, or this harm.
You bring it back out of their jurisdiction and put the claim back on the land where the only codicil is the indenture, if you will, is the Bill of Rights.
Correct.
And then whatever else you put on the public record that if they don't rebut, then they're subject to. So right now I'm into some civil stuff, and I'm utilizing HJR 192, the 73rd Congress, the Emergency Bank and Relief Act, the Buck Act, actually, and then a couple other pieces of legislation and not legislation, but executive orders. And the way that I'm doing this is I've put on the public record that I am acting as I've reorganized the straw man into an express trust and claimed executor status as the only individual to ever or the only entity to ever add any value to that entity is me, the living man. And so I've proclaimed that it's, I've got a hold harmless indemnity clause, all the stuff out of the redemption manual that has held up prior, but I'm utilizing it in civil, and it seems to be pretty well. It seems to be working out pretty well. And a couple of the things that the judges and the opposing attorneys have done is that they've shown me through the stuff that they say on the record that they don't really comprehend the trust arrangement that I'm entering the controversy into with. And so that kind of spurred my last question about, whether or not you think it's malfeasance or ignorance. And it almost seems to me that at least on the venue that I'm engaging with this information at, which is local in, my hometown, well, not, I mean, anyway, where I live, which is remote. And it seems to me that I'm bringing concepts and theories and referencing precedent that these people have never run into before. Have you ever experienced any of that?
I mean, that's true because it's a cookie cutter process.
It seems like they've been trained to do it wrong for so long, they don't even know how to do it right.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And usually what happens is when they get challenged like that, they bring in a judge from somewhere that can deal with that, with those questions and those aspects of what you're bringing into law. And all of a sudden, you don't have the same prosecutor. You got a different prosecutor, and the judge has been sitting on the bench. All of a sudden, it's a new judge. And It's like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, that happened to me in a proceeding I just had that almost went criminal, but I got it dismissed. But I had 5 different judges before we even got to the hearing.
Yeah, because each judge reclused himself from the bench because of your document presents them as being criminal.
Okay, so do you think that then it was one of these things? Anyway, I'm still trying to figure it out, and a couple of the judges I'm dealing with now on other issues that are much less significant, depending on which way they go. But I guess the thing that I'm learning in this civil, or at least the thing that I'm wondering about, is on the civil side of the equation. I've learned about how to apply their own bankruptcy against them and accept for value in the banking process and the different, terminology in the UCCs and whatnot in order to be able to do bankers acceptances and set offs of debts and it's really, I mean, I basically had to present my information in a way that walked the judge and the opposing attorney through the information so that they could actually comprehend what the hell it was I was saying. And that was about 2 weeks ago now that I ended up doing that and filing a motion because I'm on the civil side using their ens legis that I've reorganized, so I'm honoring that, and using that as a firewall, so to speak, to go in and try to handle debts and, basically stuff that's on their side of the jurisdiction.
Are you filing 1099s into the case?
No, I'm not. How would I do that?
Well, you need to get the QSIP number, which the clerk of court, you ask the clerk of court's accountant to give you the QSIP number off the case. And if they play dumb and say, well, we don't know what you're talking about, you're not writing bonds. You didn't create a performance bond, a bid bond, and a payment bond. You didn't create any of that. And then they'll sit there and look at you, the deer in the headlights, like, oh my God, you're not supposed to know this.
So is that even created for civil where it's like where it's not the state? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then what happens to those after the case is dismissed? Are they paid and then settled?
Later, they get payout and the judge get a percentage of that to his retirement.
Net retention. Yeah. Okay.
When he goes retired, he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's why when you sue these guys for treason, you go after Article 3 or Section 3 and 4 of the 14th Amendment, which says they have committed treason under violation of oath of office, and they have aided and abetted the enemy. And so therefore, they have to forfeit their pensions to you.
Yeah. You ever gotten any of those, or does stuff just go away before you get there?
It goes away before I get there.
Yeah, that's what I'm experiencing too.
I'm patiently waiting, which should be in the next 30 days, common law. And when we go to common law, I'm filing all kinds of briefs, claims, not briefs,
you mean-
claims. I'll be filing claims into the court of common law.
So when you say we're going common law in the next 30 days, is that something based on the circumstances around us, like in the news feed, or like, could you elaborate on that?
Nasara,
Gassara. Okay. Why do you think it's happening in the next 30 days?
because everything's flipping in the next 30 days. We've reached the point of flip.
Oh, you mean like with the silver squeeze going on and lawful money and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, all that. When Congress shut down, that was the trigger. That started the whole thing.
Yeah, I was wondering. I actually had a discussion about that with somebody here just a couple days ago about the implications of, the government being shut down and unfunded in their bankrupt capacity already. I mean, that's non-performance. That's margin call foreclosure, like immediately if they don't respond to their debtor. And so this kind of leads me back though into the whole jurisdictional thing that I was trying to get at a little bit to get your opinion on about what ends up happening when you go into these proceedings and start referencing in your bill of particulars is what I believe what you referenced it as to be. I've been calling them briefs, but now I need to get the nomenclature down for the common law side. But the corporate nature of the courts themselves, because they're a subcontractor that's granted through the Constitution, the Commerce Clause, and then also, the 19 essential services that are enumerated 2 in the preamble and 17 in the body. But those essential services of justice and liberty and fairness and then, just the conceptual allocation of what the goal of government is that's defined in the freedom documents, in the founding documents. What is your take on going into these proceedings and standing on the fact that they are a corporate entity, regardless of who created them, but they're a corporate entity, and there can be no privity of contract between the corporate entity and the living man? I mean, otherwise, like kind in the contract. And
first of all, you're looking at the wrong side of the equation.
Okay.
You're on the side.
How so?
Okay, first of all, what do you have that they don't have?
Well, what I've got is I've got a contract for them to perform by and through the granting of the right to regulate commerce to the federal government.
Under the Declaration of Independence, you have all unalienable rights. All unalienable rights. And in the Declaration of Independence, which is the organic law of this country, it says you have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So these corporate courts, I am not voluntarily complying to your bullshit. So therefore, please show how you are complying to my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
I see what you're saying.
So all unalienable rights, and the burden of proof is upon you to show that I have harmed another man or woman. If you cannot do that, you have now violated your immunity as a public servant, because you are violating my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying now. I was on the wrong side of the coin. I was digging out of the hole by proving what they were, and I don't need to worry about that, because all I need to do is go in there and say, here I am right here. You have any evidence that I am not a living man with unalienable rights, and bring it forward. Otherwise, this is all bullshit.
I'm going to correct you. You are never, ever a living man. You are only a man. And you are only present.
Why?
Because you're present. God is not in the past. God is not in the future. God's only present. You are not representing anything. You are a man present in time. So when the judge says, you say, I'm sui juris, and I'm here to answer any and all charges. And he says, are you representing the name? No, I'm present. Can't you see me?
That represents something.
You can't represent anything. You
Right.
are
No,
only
I understand, but then why not living? I mean, I'm just
an adjective. An ing, when living is in the past, it's living. You're not, you are alive. You're a sentinel being of the creation of the creator. You got to
okay.
get rid of all the adjectives.
Just
That's
get
what
because you
they
don't
did.
need to
They
define.
gave me the adjectives.
Okay.
That's how they create their loopholes, is in the adjectives. You ever listen to Russell J. Gold and his punctuation and
A little bit. It was beyond my comprehension the first time I ran into it, but I should seek it out then if you think it's relevant.
in common law, we don't totally use all of what he says, but we do use we only use one period, which is the last thing that you say in your claim. We use semicolons, colons, and commas. That's all we use through the entire document. And we speak like cavemen. We speak like cavemen. We don't use adjectives. We don't use ed. We don't use ing, because that puts us in past or future. We're not past or future. We're here now.
Interesting. Okay. That's going to be a little bit of getting used to and to incorporate into my filings. That's for sure.
It is for you because you're learned in law. You're learned in their law.
Well, I've definitely become aware. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the first statement to say.
I know. And their training in school, their orthodox process has trained you in and they trained you the way they trained you to write, okay, for their benefit in the courts. Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
When you get more in depth in all of this, and you start to notice the nuances and the relationship to what's going on in the school systems, like they stop cursive.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason why they stop cursive, because what is a man able to do that no other creature can do? He can write. Okay. Well, if they get children not able to write, there's no proof that a man made that statement. What's the purest form of an affidavit? Handwritten. Handwritten. Because it's a testimony of your truth by your hand. It's not created by a mechanical device. Food for thought, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I know judges are gonna try to ignore that for their procedure and their rules of evidence.
And that's fine, but you have to object every time. When you go in, they call your name, go, I'm here, but I'm only known as your first name. And I will only answer to my first name. When they call you by your last name, objection. I've already cleared the record. I am a man, and I'm here only as the first name.
So can you put that in your
last name? You have none of you have a last name. That name belongs to your tribe, your family, your clan. That's their name. Your name is your first and middle name, which should be your first name. Like my middle name is Ronald, so it's David Ronald. That's my first name. And I am of the family or clan or whatever of Roberts.
What do you say about appearing as special appearance as opposed to general appearance?
No, special appearance?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was going to be my next question too.
Okay, if you enter the court and you cross that bar, once you cross that bar, you wavered your jurisdictional precedent. You stay
Where's
on
the precedent for that?
gallery. You stay on the gallery side of the bar, and then all your jurisdictional rights are in place. But once you cross that bar, it doesn't matter whether you're special or general, it doesn't matter. Once you cross the bar, you entered their jurisdiction.
Where's the precedent for that?
It's it. On the other side of that bar is their ship under admiralty law. It's all set up with the fantail of the ship. That's why the judge sits higher than you, because on the castle deck, that's where the captain of the ship would stand for captain mass.
There's flags been captured.
And you're on the lower deck, and on the fantail.
Right, but I mean I guess that, you know, with the rules of evidence and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I know that they're a bunch of corrupt, you know, morons that don't follow the rules at all. But I guess that, you know, if we're talking about, you know, passages in the Constitution and things like that you can actually read and look at, I guess I wonder, I mean, how would they enforce that if you stand on, I mean, the very document that gives that entity, that court and that judge any authority at all is the document that you're using to, you know, define the unalienable rights. And so I guess no. The Constitution does not define your unalienable rights. Well, it protects them. It defines what government is not supposed to engage in. It does not protect them either. Nope, that's a false number on your part. The first 10 is what are the Bill of Rights then? Like I'm
the
confused.
Bill of Rights is telling them that of your rights, but the Ninth Amendment says you have all rights. That's what the Ninth Amendment is. You have all rights.
So are you saying then that it's not in the Constitution, it's in the Bill of Rights, or are you saying that it's not in the Bill of Rights either?
Okay, the Constitution is not your document. Constitution doesn't belong to you.
Right, I know. Well, not yet. I've actually got a certified copy of the.
It does. It will never belong to you.
Even if I add my autograph?
Doesn't matter. The Constitution is a four-corner document for the rules of how the government is to behave. That's what the purpose of the Constitution is.
What do you mean by a four-cornered document?
The four-corner rule.
Well, if it's a four-corner document, then there's nothing inside of it, is what I thought that meant. Is that not correct?
A four-corner document is that only everything that's in here is applicable. Anything outside of the four-corner document is not applicable, which they have used the loophole to get out of this Constitution is the contract clause, because they create a contract, and you guys all know one. Name me a contract that gets them out of the Constitution.
Driver's license, Social Security, selective service, unemployment,
Those are
marriage
all
license.
contracts under contract law, and that's the loophole in this Constitution that gets them out of the framework of this Constitution, which is their rule book.
Right.
Okay.
And so I understand what you're saying then, to bring it back. And the reason why I'm asking these is because I don't think I quite understand what you're saying yet. And I really want to. And so I have to ask these questions that seem challenging. So please bear with me. But it's my comprehension right now that you're saying that I am not a party to the Constitution, which I would agree with you.
None of you are,
right,
including myself. None of us are.
Well, unless you count yourself as part of the posterity, right? Which would be a contributing beneficiary.
Correct.
Okay.
This document is to protect us.
Right. And so you can use it as a codicil or a trust indenture to the individuals that have entered public service, that are required to take an oath of office. And when they breach that oath, which is to support and defend that document, then you have a claim as a contributing beneficiary for their breach of contract.
Okay, you can spew all that rhetoric. The point is that you are a man, you are protected with unalienable rights granted by God, not by this document, by God.
Right. But that document defines.
This document has one purpose and one purpose only. and that is to protect your unalienable rights. That's it. And when they fail to do that in any way, shape, or form, that's treason.
Right. I agree with you. We're saying the same thing here, I think. And I just didn't quite comprehend your first statement there. Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you that that document is a set of rules for public servants to follow, and it has no bearing on my behavior.
That's right. As long as you don't harm anyone and you do not trespass, you can do whatever you bloody feel like doing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason that they created all these acts and they created all these driver's license, marriage license, hunting license, all that is to generate revenue and to manipulate and control you in ignorance.
Agreed.
It's all about the money. That's why we're not in an Article 3 court. They can't make any money in an Article 3 court.
They can't even make, all they can make is currency and discharge shit anymore after Emergency Bank and Relief Act. Anyway, that's kind of the crux of what anyway, but yeah, okay.
Can we go back to the statement you made about jurisdiction on the bar and the resemblance of a ship, which I understand that, but when you're talking about appearing specially and not generally, how does one who has been kidnapped off the street and brought into that jurisdiction and doesn't have the choice of which side of the bar that they're on, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, if you stand before the judge, that's an arraignment, okay? And you're in there for arraigning, and you have the right to have a lawyer present. You know, these are all things that you can impose to put, to slow the process down. But when you're sitting there, me personally, okay, I've been arrested, and as soon as I was arrested, I began cooperating, and here's the reason why. I'm there under duress, and as soon as I'm under duress, coercion, and stress, they no longer have a claim against me because they're in commerce under contract, and they can put up whatever illusion they want of distortion of the truth, but that's what it's all about. It's a commercial contract, and they're trying to bind me under their laws, and this is all intimidation. And so when the judge sits there, like when I was arraigned, the judge said, he reads the charges against me, and he says, "How do you plead?" And I said, "What do I need to do to get out of here?" He says, "Sign the document." Okay. I signed the document under V.C. and my name, which means I was under duress, coercion, and against my will. Because if you didn't harm anyone, you haven't trespassed on somebody, you haven't broken any laws. It doesn't matter what their claim is. All right. And this is when you stand on these principles, they can't win. They fold. Okay. There's a group, there's a man and woman, they're in their 80s, very elderly, and I don't know how much longer they're going to be with us. Thank God they've been with us as long as they have. Their name is Jack and Margie Flynn. They're out of Arkansas. They have over 300 wins in the corrupt court system, just standing on constitutional law only, submitting affidavits of claim against the courts, and the courts have folded. Okay, in the book, The Truth or the Fruit of the Poisonous Tree, in about page 241, somewhere in there, right around that section, he states that to get the courts to comply, you have to make a lot of noise. So if you get a bunch of people filing claims against the court for violation of unalienable rights of your particular situation, they will make the case disappear because they don't want the heat, because they're all pirates and they know it. They know they're pirates. They know they're criminals. They know that they're extorting money from you. They know it. But the
So
greed
this,
is so rampant because all of you are trillionaires and you don't even know it. And the whole function is to rob your Sestake account. That's what it's all about. Robbing that Sestake. Go
so
ahead, Heidi.
So when you were saying that a bunch of people filed claims, were the claims against the man acting as a judge, against the
Yeah, absolutely.
prosecutor acting? Okay. So
Yeah,
whatever your family and friends that were deprived of your, whatever you call
right.
that, consortium or
It doesn't even have to be
whatever.
family and friends. It doesn't even have to be family and friends. It could be anybody that sees what you guys got to understand. I would hope you understand is that we all have unalienable rights protected by God. And when the court, the government missteps and trespasses upon our unalienable rights, we all have to come to war on the government and make notice. And that's how we go to war. We give notice, and we give notice to the infractors, the ones that violated your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and we put them on notice. And not only put them on notice, we notify all the public officials that have any kind of influence on this idiot's process. And when he starts getting phone calls, next thing he knows is next thing you know is that all of a sudden the case disappears, all their possessions are returned, and they're even giving them money. Uh, one guy I think got $4,000 or $5,000 in reparation, and he didn't even bring suit against them.
Are
They just
you are
wanted him. They just wanted him to disappear.
are you having any success with post-conviction cases in that same manner?
Well, okay. There's a court of claim in Washington, and you have the right to take your claim there. So if you're in a post situation, you fill out, first of all, you got to do an administrative process against the parties. Any man or woman that has touched your case is a party to that, including the clerk of court. You always include the clerk of court because the clerk of court is the CFO of the court. And they know what all's going on. Matter of fact, they're the ones that sign the judges and everything to the case. So you always include the clerk of court, the prosecutor or prosecutors, the judge or judges, the magistrate who arraigned you. Matter of fact, you claim habeas corpus and they ignore habeas corpus, they just committed treason. Because if there's not a physical harm of a man or woman in a form of an affidavit, because they have to have skin in the game, that they've made false claim against you and they have violated their immunity as a public official. That includes judges who think they're protected under the 11th Amendment. You can't cause harm. That's law. That's biblical law. Biblical law is up here. Their law is down in the basement. They know that. So did I answer your question, Heidi?
Yeah, it does. I can say, like in my case, I've done several of the things that you were talking about. And in my case, my U.S. federal assistant attorney, prosecutor no longer holds a bar card because I did do the tax filings on my case. But I just don't think the judge got his just desserts. I think his bond was brought down, so he went from being the chief judge to just a bench judge. But I haven't addressed any of the harm to me as a person. I mean,
Okay, well
as a woman.
now you have the right to bring claim against them for violating your unalienable rights under life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Right.
And when you bring those statements into the court, we're doing it in our affidavits. The burden of proof is upon the prosecutor to prove that you are not violating my unalienable rights and that I have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and you have not overstepped your authority. And they're like scrambling.
Do you need to include the identity of the ens legis and the straw man in these filings, or can you just leave that out and just go right from your individual status?
Well, in common law, you don't bring the straw man into the equation. There's no need to, because I mean, I don't understand why you would want to bring the straw man in when you're going mano a mano. You're not in the corporate structure. You're not in the corporate law. You're in God's law. You're in ecclesiastic equity law. You're not in their corporate administrative maritime law. So there's no reason to have a straw man included. They done harm. They have to make you whole. That's equity. And if you filed your administrative process and they didn't rebut it, then that becomes the law in the claim. That's the only law in the claim. They can't come in and say, well, you know, that claim is in violation of these statutes. No, it doesn't work that way. My claim, I gave you an affidavit to rebut point by point in its entirety, and you didn't rebut.
So after you get this certificate of non-response and dishonor, and you're filing a claim with the Court of Claims in
Correct.
DC, is that
Correct.
correct? And
Correct.
and then you're asking for
in your
equitable relief?
Yeah, in your claim, part of your claim to the court is you want equitable relief, and you state what it is you want.
Okay, perfect.
Like, I want all their bonds liquidated to me. I want all their pensions liquidated to me because they have committed treason upon I and upon the people of this great nation. As part of the settlement. Like, you could claim, I want $500 million, but I want all the money paid from their bonds and their pensions.
Yeah, I'd really like that.
Because if you get their bonds, well, first of all, you get their pension, they're bankrupt, they're done. They can't keep their big houses, they can't have their fancy cars and their jet airplanes and all that stuff. And then if you take their you go after their bonds, they can never hold office again. And they may not be able to be paid. They may not even be paid their pensions, because their pension might be predicated on their bond staying in effect.
Right. So I didn't know, or probably didn't have a real good understanding of what I was doing. I mean, this was back in 2015 when I was messing with this. And I didn't really understand how, when you file the 1099 for the abandoned funds, does the prosecutor end up having to pay those taxes out of his bond?
No, he has to pay the bonds. When you make a claim on the 1099s to the bonds, that's what you're claiming on as the beneficiary, because they're taking that out of your trust.
Right. I just claimed the whole case on the 1099.
Okay.
As an account.
But did you file the rest? Did you file the B, the C, the OID, the NIT, the 1040V? Did you file all that? I filed,
I think, 3 of those. I mean, this has been over 10 years now. So, I mean, all I know is what the results were. The guy doesn't have a bar card and can't practice.
Did you receive any money?
Did I receive any money? No.
Yeah. You should have gotten, because they can't put the money back in the cesta case, so they have to, that money is then paid to you. If they,
so
you
that
getting
probably
money,
makes sense. Right. So that makes sense that the case is still open. It hasn't had final settlement then.
Well, if it's 10 years old, the bonds have already matured, but you still can make claim. I mean, you already got the initial paperwork in place.
Yeah, my understanding, though, is when there's final settlement, the case comes off like the PACER system. It just disappears off the record as a settled matter.
True.
Because you've settled the account.
And that's what you did, right? You settled the account.
Well, at that time, that's what I was attempting to do. I probably didn't have enough knowledge to do it completely, which is evidenced by the fact that the case is still there. So I probably have some homework to do on that.
Correct.
Is there anywhere you can point me to deal with, like, particularly going back to that 1099 situation, what tax filings are required, or how would I approach that?
Well, do you have access to the QSIP?
I do.
Okay, that's the big number you want. That controls everything. And you put that in on your documentation on your 1099 and the rest of the documents, the NIT and the OID and all that.
Can you go through real quick, or is it not possible here to go through?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry about
Go
that.
ahead.
Could
Go
you go
ahead,
through and
Cody.
identify those different 1099s, what the purpose is for, what information is going on them, and then where they're going?
Okay. I'd have to do a little homework before I could give you a presentation, but the A is accepting abandoned property. I don't quite remember what B is, but C is making claim on that abandoned property. Okay. And then the OID is you're giving notice that that debt is still there and you want to make claim on it. Okay. Because you already have the 1099-C on file. You don't
Is it the OID for transferring the promise to pay to the Treasury or through the Federal Reserve in exchange for Federal Reserve notes?
No, the Federal Reserve's not part of this. This is all done through the Treasury. There's two sides of the IRS. There's the Federal Reserve side, and then there's the Treasury side. The IRS will exist, but only on the Treasury side, the United States of America's Treasury. The enforcement side, the side that comes after you, a criminal charge and all that, that's disappearing. That's going to disappear. Okay. If you guys want to have another meeting, say next month, I'll bring all that information on the 1099s with me.
That would be great.
Yeah, we want to do that.
I would benefit greatly from that, I think.
But I would like, in return, I would like you guys to think about starting a committee of safety in your group there.
That sounds good to us.
Good.
David,
I'll help you with all that.
I got a question. I had pleaded on a few cases, and I want to know about, can I rescind my signature and then take out the foundation of what they have on me? I file an affidavit of rescission.
You can do that. What was the charges they brought forth?
Fictitious license plate.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
And because as they escalated a Class C misdemeanor to Class B, which means they have they attached a charge of unlawful possession of a weapon. If you get a Class B or A misdemeanor, then if you got a weapon, they
Once again, you need to file an affidavit rebuttal stating that how did I violate the Second Amendment? Because I didn't have a firearm, I have an arm. I have the right to bear arms. So please explain to me how your charges correlate or in alignment with the Second Amendment of the Bill of Rights.
Yeah. I would seek your assistance on that. But my contention is, if I do a rescission of my signature, that takes out the foundation of the bondage they have on me.
Of their claim, right?
So that would,
and you just state in your affidavit, I was under duress, coercion, and threat of my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Okay. And then the burden of proof comes onto them to prove that they didn't violate your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
That'll be in an affidavit form?
Always an affidavit. Always, you don't do anything other than affidavit. Always affidavit. Why an affidavit? because you
affidavit.
are sovereign, you're a sovereign man, and a sovereign man only speaks what is true, correct, in law, in evidence, and he does that through an affidavit. It's right in the maxims of law. It's right in the maxims of law.
Right. And I got another off the wall question. Do you have some kind of paperwork you can file to prevent from having to pay tolls on the toll road?
Me personally, I have my car is not registered, and I have a private plate on my car, and I just go through the toll gates without any issue.
Do they ever hassle you with private plates?
No, the only time they come after me is when I've been speeding.
Yeah, I had
And
private plates.
then we have a mild discussion on speeding. I go state the law, and they quote their law, and I said, okay, but read the law to me, which speeding is uninsured clear distance.
Yeah, in Texas, you have to be traveling in commerce in order to be bound to the speed limit.
My car is registered as non-commerce.
What happened was that I had private plates, and they pulled me over for turning without a turn signal. And then I
Once
refused.
again, did I cause an accident? Nope. Okay, then you don't have a claim.
What happened was I found out I had 2 warrants out for the unlawful weapons, and they threw me out of
Once
the car.
again, that's escalation.
Yep.
You pull me over for not using a turn signal, and then you escalate. You can't do that. That's a violation of my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. What are we living in? A police state? We living in a police state? Because that's
Yeah.
what you're. I mean, you're acting like freaking Nazi Gestapos.
Well, they had the warrants out. They pulled me out of the car, and they never told me I was under arrest. I was,
Violation of rights. I have several warrants outstanding, but they state that do not detain.
You got that on your passport?
No, when they pull up my name up in the computer, it said that I'll list several warrants for my arrest. Not my arrest. Okay, let's get clarity here. Not my arrest, for the rest of the straw man.
Right.
Okay.
How do you establish where it says do not detain?
Because I'm not the straw man. I'm not the all cap name. I'm a man.
You have something recorded where that comes up on your computers?
Yeah, I gave the judge notice.
And what type of notice would that be?
That I'm a man and I'm not the straw man, and therefore you have no claim on I, the man. I don't know if you were on the call when I talked about Genesis and Earth and God and man and Creator. Okay.
I heard that people file an affidavit of life. Is that effective?
Yeah.
It can't hurt.
Yeah. And what do you know about when you turn 7 years old, you get a death certificate? Are you familiar with that?
7 years old?
Yeah. According to Susquehanna.
No, okay. In 7 years from the time you're born, your parents are supposed to make claim upon you. And if they don't make claim upon you at 7 years, then you become a vessel adrift, abandoned vessel at sea, and the state then claims you as their private property of the abandoned vessel. That's what happens at 7 years old.
I believe they do that through a death certificate. I'm familiar with a guy named David.
The death certificate was issued at your birth. The death of the placenta.
Oh, yeah, it goes back to that, right. Okay, I appreciate it.
Anything else you guys want to talk about real quick? Because we've been at this for an hour and a half.
But Dave, how much more time do you have?
Well, I need to get on to some other stuff. I got some affidavits I got to bang out. I'm trying to get a guy out of jail in Iowa.
I got you.
Yeah, that's a question I have is how do you get people out of jail?
With a
Well,
court
first of
bar.
all, you file a habeas corpus into the court. You got to give notice. If you don't give notice, they're going to do whatever they want to do. The other thing is you got to rattle the trees. You got to get more people's eyes on the case. How do you do that? You notify everybody in the world that this is going on. You draw attention to the case. When you draw attention to the case, that's when they get all skittish because they know they're breaking the law. It's a RICO operation. You guys know what RICO is?
Oh yeah.
Yes, we
And that's
do.
what they're doing. The Italians in their organized crime is minuscule.
Screen.
I think I lost him. You want to reboot your computer?
I don't know, that's,
I've got a question. If you want to ask them.
Okay.